Well, good morning. You guys wanted a sneak peek of my house, my garden, so here it is for you guys. Let me turn this camera around really quick. So, well, welcome to my humble garden here. Beautiful wisteria of the gate, all right on top. So, our house is a 1922 Craftsman in the historical district here in Pomona. So here's something I picked up from the Hunt and Garden sale this year. It's a Nerifolia, pretty thick base there. I'll figure what to do later. Trying to kind of revigorate the growth. So here are some of the plants I've been working on lately. So that's a Chinese fringe tree. Has white flowers. Haven't figured what to do with it yet. That's a new one. So that is from Nuccio's, up in Altadena, and it is, I never seen this one before, so I'm a noob. It is a deciduous azalea, so I never seen that before. Here's a flower. I'm sorry to write it out there, but it's pink with a yellow throat. Loses his leaves just like the other brother in here, but look at the base on this guy. I picked that out. I'll probably cut it down to about there, so to get the height, but gives you an idea. Something I'll probably work on a little later this week is so that guy you've seen before. That is a cork bark elm. That's Seiju. It's a mother tree. I got that from Glenn Van Winkle almost, I don't know, like 5-6 years ago now. So our goal is to take out these guys right here. Hopefully what it does, it's gonna open these guys up. You can see a little better. Root is just not the great here, but you know, we'll work around that one. I do have a second one here. That was from Ed Clark. Got that about 5-6 years ago. I haven't decided. I think I'm gonna plan that to be a single trunk tree eventually. But yeah, that's still in the growing. Try and figure out these things out. I'm gonna shoot a quick Kusamoto video soon. Got that from Lindsay. That is a dwarf blue or purple iris. It's just flowering this morning. Look how beautiful that looks. Now I'm gonna select some pots there, put that in. Here's the nitty gritty of my backyard. That's the outdoor kitchen. That's been playing with the magnolias for a while. Haven't found one I like, and Ed Clark gave me that one, and it's one of his favorites. It's a yellow magnolia, and what's so special about it is that trunk. So you can get in here. It's a little dark. That's the trunk, really big base. So I'm gonna leave it long. Magnolias are pretty long. I collect, when I get a chance, I try to collect things. So that is a wisteria. Should be pink. It was from Lindsay Shiba's nursery before they closed down. It's really ugly, but I wanted a pink one. I haven't seen a pink wisteria before. It's in a growing box. I'll figure what to do. I might tilt this upward and make that into a tree. It might be a yard tree. It's really ugly, but it's pink. You know, you don't see many pink wisterias. Here's another tree I collected. It is just a normal Chinese elm. Nice base to it, but it has this hollow in it. I mean, it's like, it goes all the way down there. It was growing for a while to get this base, to get the new leader kind of fattened up. Left it out. I didn't notice a rot until this winter, so I might open that up. You know, I haven't decided. More by this is the immediate backyard. So you've seen that one before. So that is a root over rock I did. Good 6-7 years ago. It's been in the ground for about 6-7 years. My goal is to cut it right around there and to regrow this entire top. I just repotted that this year, got it out of the ground. Same thing with this guy. Oh, that's a trident. That's a trident maple. Same idea. This has been in the ground 6 almost 6 years now. Yeah, they've both been in about 6 years. That is not a trident. That is a, I forgot the name of it scientifically, but it's an evergreen maple. So its leaves has been there. It's really thick and leathery. I'll show you. It's really thick, leathery. It does pretty well in my weather, especially out here, about 110, 115 during the summertime. It does pretty well, surprisingly. New ume I picked up from Bob Pressler. I do collect ume. So that one is, I don't have this variety. So this is a single petal white ume, not contorted, just regular. It's going to be probably, this is the back side of it, but it's going to be a semi-cascade, and you can see the little fruits there. A couple fruits form in there. See what that tastes like. Here's a Nursery. I got this tree in a raffle, club raffle, almost when I started. I think this was one of the Hutchinson's trees before they were slowly moving out to Pennsylvania. These are Peter-inspired trees, the Nursery. Those trees came from Weigert about 2-3 years ago. That one in the pot's pretty much almost ready. The other one has really ugly rootage. I don't know what to do with it, so we'll figure what we're gonna do later. That is a crab apple, white flowers, like reddish orange fruit. You can see the fruits kind of form there. Here's the base. Look at the base there, big chunky base. That came from Steve De Silva almost a couple years ago, 2 years ago probably. That's my new pride and joy. It is a trident maple. Came from Steve De Silva. It is monster base. I'm growing, trying to heal this wound right down the center here. But it gives you an idea of the base. I mean, that's, yeah, 10 inches across, 12, almost 12 across, and that's barely what's shown on the surface. There's more underneath. I got a leader to heal that thing up, going a good up to my roof line. I'll show you. Let me back up and see that. So it goes. That just to heal that wound over in the center. So I have another cork bark elm that is broom style. So that came from Sanger Nursery about 5-6 years ago when they had a full stock. Earlier the top, I sold the top, and then right now I'm regrowing this top section so I get my broom. If you look carefully, let me bring it close up here. Yeah, a little shady here, but you can see it's just growing some buds in. So I'm gonna let that take off. I'm gonna select 3, 1, 2, 3, and then I'm gonna wedge that center out so it's not that flat. Kind of even it out. That's the original front. So that's in progress. Right next to it, something I picked up in Florida this summer. I had a chance to go to see Weigert's nursery out in not Florida. It is Florida, but I forgot the city. We were out in the Orlando area, and I took a 2-hour drive. Yeah, 2-hour drive out there to see Eric and Andrea, his wife. And I picked up this guy. So I saw this online before I went out. Not this particular tree, but something very similar. It's called Singapore holly. It's related to like let's forget, crepe myrtle family. It's a holly, as you can see the leaves. Okay, very pointed. Evergreen. It's really a subtropical. Has these pretty flowers that looks like crepe myrtle, pink, and then it does have a fruit, red, just like a cherry. As I said, I collect ume. That's that one is a double pink. I think it's a Peggy Clark of some sort. Bought that a couple years ago from House of Bonsai and Vicky. It's nice now. I might be able to show that in a couple years. Yes, so that's a fun tree. That is in a, I didn't pay that price, but just the container fit. So this is a contorted ume. from Ed Clark. The story is I found this one in his front yard and asked him, hey, can I dig that up if possible? He says, you know what, it's been shaded out. If you want it, if you can dig it out, you can have it. We went up twice. I went up once with Joe. We start digging this thing, and this thing is in like adobe mud. We gave up after the first try, and then Joe actually went back the second time during a weekday, popped it out like a bat tooth, and ever since I've cultivated it. This is a massive stump. You can give her an idea. This is like how big the tree is. Sprang back, flowered this year. I took a lesson from Randy Knight, listening to one of Ron Neal's podcasts, is to bottom heat it. So that's my bottom heat right here. And then that's the temperature gauge. So I put this about 90 degrees. It's been there for about 2 years now. But this is going on the second full year of bottom heat. And I think the idea of bottom heating these things, getting the root to really grow, it's a secret of like collecting. This is a repotted this year, the Shishiho Hime. It's a Japanese maple, stays red, the tip stays redder than normal. Just got in the pot this year. That came from Ed Clark. This is my experimental tree, another Ed Clark specimen. It was one of the yard trees, supposed to be a yard tree. It looked like a really good like turtleback style or clump style. Air layering that section right there. Really big branches, ugly. Maybe I can do something with it. Something I collected years ago. It's a Rancho Cucamonga red Zinfandel grape. It still produces, probably 100, 150 years old. Always fruits, never fails. I noticed grapes, you can't put them in a shallow pot. You got to put them in a pretty deep pot to force them to bloom, to fruit. So if you have grapes, put them in a deep container. The deeper, the better, probably, just to get that root sometimes to push out that bloom. That one was the same type of wisteria, the one you saw earlier. It is a pink. So this is really probably a better variety or a better scale to do some a bonsai with it. So let's hope. I haven't seen a bloom yet. Let's see if it will bloom. 2 trees I collected from Lindsay's nursery again before it closed down. So the story on those 2 guys. So Lindsay collected some of these. It looks like a flowering plum or flowering peach right at the Great Wall. He collected some of the seeds, grew that in the ground, never flowered. I'm looking at some of the leafage. I don't know what kind of leaf that is. Does not look like a peach or a plum. It's rough, so umes, or well, I know umes pretty well. If it's rough like this, you can hear that usually means it's not going to bloom. It's too young, too juvenile. You go something older, like this guy, and it's waxy, so it's not rough. There's the stomas or the petioles on the backside. It's not rough. It's a mature type of branching or leafage. Has a high percentage of flowering. So if you like nursery calling, that is a semi-dwarf crepe myrtle from Lowell's. It was originally $55, and I got that on sale for like I think $16 or $6. It was like 75% off on top of another like 50% off. I picked up 3 of them. It flowers every year. It's going to be a shohin probably in a couple years. That's a dead Peggy Clark ume. I don't know what happened to that one. So that is a Korean hornbeam. So after seeing other people's Korean hornbeam, I said I have to have one. Instead of paying lots of money, I got a bigger tree, a little more mature tree. But a couple things I found out about Korean hornbeams. They have a very thin cambium. They don't heal over very well, so you gotta be careful what kind of big cuts you make. But they ramify like no tomorrow. So I'm gonna air layer probably that middle section, probably down here, the base area, to create one of my tree. But yeah, Korean beams does pretty well in here in Southern Cal. I just cleaned the benches out this quarantine time, so that's kind of bare. This is where my ficus kind of hang out. In the back, when I started, I bought some Trident maple seedlings from Bill Van Vanis, and this is before the lovely video that Borham put out. So it's clump style. So what I did is I wired it together and I just let it grow for a couple years. So next winter I'm gonna pop that out and see what it looks like, and then recreate my leaders on that one. Let's go to my benches. So I have 3 benches. You can see, got 1, 2, 3. This was all grass at one point. Yeah, my wife doesn't like them, but I still left the grass out for her and the kids. I got like 2 puppies running around. That is a dwarf trident maple from Takshimazu. It wasn't doing really well. I found out that it was still in the original like soil. Had to take that out and repot it in pumice, straight pumice, just to get revigorated. And then I think next winter I'm gonna repot it again in like akadama mix, trying to get it going again. So that tree was from the Hutchinson sale. That's one of her like broom style. It's gonna be the exposed root. And the pot's from Jim Barrett. So I had these pots commissioned. I love the shape. So I got that commissioned by Jim Barrett. This is one of the really dwarf variety of elm that I'm trying to produce. A little bigger than Shohin, but I think in a couple years they'll be ready in a pot. Just maple, just a kind of fun. So that is a air layer I'm trying to put together here. Shorten the branch. There's a really good base up there. A lot of reverse taper. I think that one came from St. Gabriel Nursery. A couple things I have in the back here is like my growing ground. Olive. That's a big like collected olive from I think Steve and Carrie Valentine gifted that to me. Still there, still alive. It's in a concrete bucket. Lindsay knows me too well. He gave me one of his cuttings of the contorta ume. One of my favorites. If you notice in the back branch, they do throw these growth out really straight. I mean, look at that's just a straight, not contorted ume, double white. I'm air layering it. See if that works. A lot of people say it doesn't really work, but hey, it's a free tree anyways. A couple of things I've done during the time we're in quarantine. Repotted an orange contorted quince and a regular white contorted quince I kind of repotted. I do have a Chinese quince that came from Vicky. Things I noticed, they don't heal very well. They're very slow healers, so whatever the book says, that's true. They do throw out these great branchings. You put them in full sun, they go wild. They're really stiff. I mean, within one season, those things are like stiff as rocks. Don't mind the lead weights. Those are for my house that we're renovating. I scavenge those. That is a cork bark oak. Bought that about 8 years ago from Roy Nagatoshi out in Silmar. You can see the lovely native barkage on that one. Yeah, I like it. I think it's almost ready. The canopy is almost ready. Branching's almost ready to be in the pot. Maybe next winter when I get a chance. A lot of people know I like fruiting, flowering trees. That is a Princess Persimmon. And it's a red variety. It's a small oval red variety. I might make that into a windswept or a bunjin. I haven't figured it out. I'm getting close. That's the pot's gonna go in, so give you an idea. That is a male Princess Persimmon. I got from Vicky, thinking that was a female, but you know, you learn your lesson here. So let me give you an idea what a male versus a female looks like. You can't really tell from the branching. You can't really tell from the leaves, but let me get zoom in really quick. Those are the male flowers. Okay? Main difference between a male Prince's persimmon and a female Prince's persimmon, flowers don't have any sepals. Sepals are the leaves attached to the stem of that flower. Let me show you a female one. That's a female one. If you look carefully, I'm sorry, I got a white screen here. It has these little leafage, or these, we call the sepal on a flower, and that's the main difference between a male and female. A female will have these sepals, and a male doesn't. So that gives you an idea. All right. Let me go back to the first bench here. Small clump of an olive. Of course, everybody has one of these. These are Frankie's cork bark jade plants. I have one. I want a bigger one, but it's fun. I mean, it's relatively carefree. Got some smaller stuff, some shohin stuff that I've been playing with. That is a tiny gem. This is a camellia. It's really the smallest leaf flowering camellia you can get. Yeah, so does well. Root over rock, trident maple. It's probably a shohin when I'll finish. Another trident maple, not trident maple, sorry, about Japanese maple. Known on the variety. Has a really nice nabari, has a nice taper to a nice movement. Don't know what to do with the top. That's a little bit too long, I think, right here. The inner note's too long, so I might cut it right around there and make this my new leader. I might wire it. I might do that in a couple weeks. Another Japanese maple. I think that one is a Kyohime. I'll walk through the back in a minute. One of my new experiments we're playing with. This is a Prince's persimmon clump, but on almost like a flat slab. I'll see how that works out. I'm gonna wire that. I'll film that so you guys can see my progress. Here's a Kyohime. It's a best I can get a picture of that one. Nice base on that one. I just repotted that this winter before there are quarantine, of course. More of my growing grounds. Yeah. Some leftovers for my root graft that I didn't get a chance to do because it got too hot too quick. Sorry for the backlit, but that is a Kashima. It was a Ed Clark mother tree. No one wanted it. It was rather straight trunk. I liked it because of the reason. It's massive. I'll give you an idea. I'll put my hand on the trunk in a minute. It has this really nice mature barking. You can tell it's mature, especially this type of Kashima actually had these vertical ribs on the trunk. That's my hand. That gives you an idea that the trunk size. And I'll back up and you see the little canopy. I think it's almost ready to show. I need to kind of redefine that top a little bit. I'm just gonna let it grow for 1 more or 2 more years. It's been in that tray for 2 years now. It wasn't a 15-gallon, and it took like a good 30 minutes of cutting into that size. So I'm gonna let that root grow and kind of take over again. More of my growing stuff in the shade here. A male Prince's persimmon. That is a air layer rough bark elm that I'm ready to cut off and do something with it. One of my rare evergreens. I don't get full sunlight. I got this giant pepper tree right on top of me that I need to whack off. But yeah, I haven't weeded. Sorry. But it is a Ituagawa juniper. I'm gonna probably wire that up in the next couple weeks because I have nothing else to do. But yeah, my one and only evergreen I have. Right behind it is a air layered crepe myrtle. It needs to be shortened again, I think. But it flowers reliably. I'll go this way. Quince, unknown variety, small leaf, never flowered it. But apparently someone got that to flower. That came from Ed Clark. It apparently came from Miniature Kingdom. up in up north, and it's supposed to have red flowers. The person actually got it to bloom this year, a cutting from it, and it was red. So my guess that's probably a like what do you call that? Jujubai, but it's the large leaf variety. That was from Harel. That was a male Prince of Persimmon. Right next to that is a Glen Van Winkle oak, cork oak. Cut the top off, regrew the leader. I'm still trying to get the leader to heal over. Give you an idea of the base. Not as big as some of the big trees, but it's still a massive tree. One of my first cuttings I got from Ted Madsen. So that is a Japanese privet. So I just let it grow. It was in a grow pot, and I just let it grow for 5, 6, 7 years now. I repotted it recently into a Kathy Bowman pot, but it's gonna be a forest. It's gonna stick its time. Got a quince from that's Takusurumazu. That's one of the one that changes color. Hopefully it's little red stripes that will come out. Recently acquired material I just put in that pot. That was from Steve De Silva. It looks like a very large what is it, a Kingsville. Give you an idea. I'll put the trunk. That's the trunk on it, so it's pretty big. One of the forests we created years ago, Joe and I were taking a class with Lindsay, or one of our intermediate classes. We produced a giant forest. Yeah, I don't keep up with it very well. I wish I did. That's a Peggy Clark ume. Just repotted it and see how that does. That's my show quince. I'm ready to cut that back. I'll probably put that in an article or a video soon. That is a cork bark oak from George Nakamura up in the Central Coast area. And that's about 6, 7 years old. I won that from a raffle. That is a Don Redwood. This is some of my growing area in the back here. That's a bunch of cuttings from the Kingsville, some odds and ends collected over the years. Here's my quince selection, ume collection. You can see that's those are red flowering there. That's a red quince, large variety. And last but not least, we'll look back at this bench really quick. That is a white, should be white ume. Haven't bloomed before, but styled it, repotted this year. I got sick of it sitting in a regular pot, and I got some odds and ends. But yeah, if you guys are in the area, want to visit, just give me a text, give me a call. I'm always welcome if I'm home. But yeah, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next garden later. Okay, we'll kind of look at this one tree and call that a day. Goodbye.